guys, big breaking news coming out. World War III update. US to provide Ukraine with the intelligence to carry out missile strike deep inside Russia, even reaching the capital, Moscow. In a significant shift in US policy toward the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, the Trump administration has approved giving the green light, the sharing of intelligence to aid Kiev in conducting long-range missile strike on Russian targets. Now this move comes as peace negotiations stall, signaling a deeper commitment to bolstering Ukraine's military capability against Russian aggression. Alright, so the US president is giving the green light to Zelensky. Alright guys, before I start, for those of you that want to send us letters or prayer requests, you can send it to me, US Santiago, or my wife Jessica Santiago at 3432 US Highway 19, number 2, Holiday, Florida 34691. And for those of you that want to contribute to the channel, we do have the Cash App link and the PayPal link in the comments box and also description box. Thank you again for your support. Your support is what keeps us on air. Guys, let me just read this part really quick here. A spokesman for Russian President Vladimir Putin said Russia will respond. You hear that? Russia will respond if the US president approves sending Tomahawk and other missiles to Ukraine, a move that will put Moscow in range of Kiev forces. Alright, so once again, this is a very, very, very concerning times that we are living of Bible prophecy, nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Alright, so leave your comments down below. What are your thoughts about this one here? Should the sleeping giant get involved? So again, should we get involved in this? Should we get involved in this biblical war? Leave your comments down below. So once again, it's not only Tomahawk missile, but it's another missile. I think it's called the Barracuda missile, if I'm not mistaken. So there are two very important missiles, Tomahawk and the other one I just mentioned. Now, the bear, Russia, is sending a message to Donald. A very strong message that this thing could hit the fan. Look at this one here. So the decision focuses on targeting the Bear energy infrastructure. So that's their plan. They want to hit their grid. All right. So that's the US and Ukraine and all them NATO members. That's their plan. The decision is focusing on hitting the Bear energy infrastructure, a critical sector that could disrupt basically grid and oil facility. Moscow's war efforts, if successfully hit, according to American officials. Now, the sleeping giant will provide Ukraine with intelligence for long-range missile strike on Russia's energy infrastructure. Now, remember, guys, Russia got hit last year with our long range. And what happened? Well, Russia fired Orishnik. And that was the last time we fired long range at Russia. Joe is like, okay, no more. That's it. Let's stop. You know, we've seen Orishnik, and we don't have a missile defense system for that. So this intelligence sharing initiative recently signed off by U.S. commander authorizing the U.S. intelligence agencies and the Pentagon to assist Ukraine directly with targeting data. Now, it says here the policy extends beyond mere data provision. The administration is also weighing the option of sending powerful equipments to Ukraine, which could expand the range of potential targets within Russia. Now, remember, guys, when Joe gave the green light to fire long range, Donald, he said, again, he responded. He's like, Joe's going to take us to WW3. He allowed Crane to use our long range and is going to take us to WW3. But now Donald is, Yep, it seems like the Donald might take us to WWE 3. Again, I'm not bashing the Donald, but again, I'm just following his words, what he said last year towards Joe. The US officials are actively encouraging NATO allies to contribute similar support, aiming to create a coordinated international effort. As one source noted in the report, this expanded aid is the latest sign that U.S. commander is deepening support for Ukraine as his efforts to advance peace talks have stalled. Central to these potential strike in Ukraine, domestically produced weaponry such as the Flamingo cruise missile with a 20-foot wingspan and the capacity to carry a 1-ton warhead. 1-ton warhead. The Flamingo is designed for precision strike deep inside enemy territory, capable of inflicting serious damage on strategic assets. Now, this missile represents Ukraine's growing self-reliance in advanced military technology, now potentially enhanced by U.S. intelligence. This escalation could mark a turning point in a war which has dragged on for years, with heavy casualties, on both sides. By enabling strike on energy infrastructure, Ukraine might gain leverage to pressure the bear into negotiations. However, it also risks provoking a stronger Russian response, potentially broadening the conflict or drawing in more international actors. Critics argue that such support prolongs the fighting, while prominents see it as essential for Ukraine's defense. As peace talks falter, the U.S. move underscores a pivot from diplomacy towards more robust military backing. Wow. Now, I want to take you to this story here. Let me just make this a little smaller so you guys have a better view. Okay, so this is coming out today, October 2nd. A spokesman for the Russian President Vladimir Putin said Russia will respond. They will respond appropriately if the U.S. commander approves sending these equipments to Ukraine, a move that will put Moscow in range of Kiev forces. Now, Dmitry made a brief comment at a regular press briefing on Thursday, state news agency TASS reported, so it was posted today, October 2nd. Ukrainian leader Zelensky has requested long-range Tomahawk from the U.S. president, who is considering it as his diplomatic efforts to broker peace in the war bear little fruit. Why is the sleeping giant getting involved? Why? Why, man? Why? Pressure on the bear. Zelensky and Ukraine allies want the sleeping giant to crank the pressure on the bear to make peace through tougher sanctions and better weapons for Kiev forces. We always have to stick our nose in other people's business. Again, that's who we are. But tensions between Moscow and NATO are already escalating sharply over the war, and there is a growing risk of a direct clash between the two nuclear-armed sides. Western allies accuse Moscow of waging hybrid war against them, such as the recent series of alleged airspace violations by the Bear aircraft. The Kremlin has described NATO as at war with the Bear through its material support for Ukraine. There's that Tomahawk missile. Imagine firing that towards Moscow. That would be game on. That would be game on. Now, Tomahawk missiles is calculated gamble. Once you have Peskov had also noted media reports of intelligence sharing between the sleeping giant and Crane that would enable deep strike into the bear, saying such information does not appear from thin air, according to state-run RIA. He said that the US and NATO have been constantly providing intelligence to Crane. Tomahawks would enable Crane's forces to hit military target deep in the bear territory, such as air bases and armament factories. But handing Tomahawk to Kiev would escalate a conflict the U.S. commander is struggling to end and risk setting off a chain of events that would end with a direct war between the bear and NATO. It would be a calculated gamble designed to pressure the bear into finally ending its war, but one with potentially disastrous consequences if it backfires. Speaking to Fox News in an interview taped Friday, U.S. Vice President said the U.S. Commander administration was reviewing a request by Zelensky for the missiles. All right, Donald. I hope you know what you're doing. You call out Joe last year saying that he's going to take us to WWE3, but Joe is not in the spotlight. You are. If you send these Tomahawks, reminder, you are trying to take us to WWE3. Is something that the U.S. commander is going to make the final determination on. I know that we are reviewing that request. We are also reviewing a number of other requests. Peace rests on two issues. A peace deal in Ukraine remains stuck on two key issues: the division of territory and the future architecture of Ukrainian security. The bear wants formal recognition of the Ukrainian territory it has seized over the course of its invasion, which Kiev and European allies have refused to accept. It says here, Moscow has also said it will not accept peacekeeping troops from NATO allies on the ground in Ukraine when the war is over, saying Kiev's ambitions to join the US-led alliance are a root cause of its invasion. So the bear is saying the reason why we invaded is because of NATO. All right, they want Ukraine to be a member. Ukraine says security decisions are its own to make as a Soviet state, and that the bear does not have a say. Russia does not have a say. Kiev also says it is constitutionally bound not to cede any of its territory. Wow. Let me go on X really quick here, guys. I want to pull up some of this news that I shared yesterday. Putin should have listened in Alaska. Don't get your hopes up. don't get your hopes up. Again, here's the thing that a lot of people failed to learn. That the last time the bear got hit with a long range, the bear fired Orishnik, and that was the last time. So Orishnik, there's a possibility the bear is not going to fire Orishnik towards Ukraine. They're possibly going to drop it towards Europe, and that's going to be a big problem. And that will be WW3 stuff, Article 5 activated. For the first time since the bear invasion of Ukraine began, the sleeping giant U.S. will provide Ukrainian armed forces with the intelligence for long-range strike against energy infrastructure. Inside of the bear senior officials have told the Wall Street Journal an order instructing both the Pentagon and intelligence agency to aid Ukraine with strike against target within the bear territory was recently signed by the U.S. commander, with U.S. commander official asking NATO allies to provide similar support to Kiev. In addition, the U.S. is also weighing the delivery of Tomahawk and Barracuda, that's the one, Barracuda cruise missile, as well as other American-made ground and air-launched missile. that have ranges of around 500 missiles to Ukraine, allowing them to potential strike targets in Russia that are as deep as Moscow. All right. So what are your thoughts on this, guys? Leave comments down below. Give me a second here. I don't think it's a very smart decision, but like I said, it's going to get us involved in this biblical war. It's going to drag us into this biblical war. Something that, Donald has been calling Joe out last year, 2024, dragging us to WWE3. Okay, so it seems like this is all of it here. Yeah, it seems like this is all of it. So I would keep an update on this one here, guys. So again, you got back and forth stuff going on. Russia warns Donald. Donald possibly sending tomahawks, giving the green light to Ukraine to fire long range. Yep, buckle up. Things are gonna get really hot this winter. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Till next time later. Peace.